Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
It's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think. Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy, hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Cretins, greetings.
Cretins, that's how you switch it up? Cretins, greetings?
Well, trying.
Good. Just, I think you had the winner, just stick with it.
But I love variety, Variety is the spice of life.
Yeah, but variety is not saying something backwards.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. You got to mix it up a little bit more than that.
Okay.
Next time. Well, and I'll tell you what's spicing it up here in the studio. We have our fine sponsor, head of our fine sponsor, Mr. John Blickman has joined us here today.
Hello there, fellow beer geeks.
Fellow beer geeks, yes, and we have Kevin Bacon, famous actor. I loved you in Footloose. You were fantastic in that.
My finest work.
Yeah. And he also happened to buy a top-tier system during the months of...
January, was it?
Yeah, February through...
September through February, I think it was.
Yes. And out of the hundreds of people who bought systems during that little window of time, he happened to also buy one and randomly got chosen. And we went out and brewed with him. It was quite exciting.
Magical day.
It was magical.
So when and where did you buy said stand?
I bought said stand from northernbrewer.com. Have you heard of these guys?
I believe I have.
Yeah.
You guys are making fine radio there.
We're radio virgins.
Yeah, you see how it's not that easy to make this magic. How it seems effortless. John and I just float amongst the
you guys,
airwaves.
You guys float all right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you something. So we go up. The plan was that John Blickman was going to pick up the tab for whatever it cost for us to go out and brew with the winner. It was Palmer and myself, and Blickman would fly out, and we'd get hotel rooms, and he'd pay for the whole thing. So, very generous. Luckily, it turned out that, Kevin lives in up near Tahoe and Kings Beach.
What's his address?
69 something.
Steelhead.
Yeah.
Fish
and
bear.
So we, I could drive up there. When picked up Palmer and Blickman from the airport, we drove up. We stopped at Auburn Ale House. We had lunch, had some nice beers.
Those were good.
We went to
curry soup, which is extremely memorable.
Right.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
We went to 50/50, and then we checked into the Ferrari's Crown Motel. That was quite nice. It was a recommendation from Kevin. And we hung out with Kevin for some dinner and went over to his place and realized that we needed excessive drill bits to go through the depleted uranium shield that comes on the Blickman burners.
Strong burners.
Yeah, I had no idea how strong that stainless steel was.
Just trend away from the depleted uranium shielding there. I think that's a little bit overkill. I know you like to over-engineer your stuff to the point where you can launch these things into space, but it was a little bit more than I think we needed, and that the drill bits could handle.
Drill through.
Well, we were able to melt a drill bit through the steel. Yes.
Yeah, on the fourth drill bit.
Yeah, fourth bit. Well, and there were a couple of bits before that you didn't see. You were back at the hotel, and I'll tell you, John and I, we shared a room, Palmer and I shared a room because we have this understanding that what happens in the room stays in the room. We're very,
although we're allowed to open the windows.
You're right. We have a very private thing where nothing is said about what happens in there, and no matter whatever problem either of us have, whether it be in the bathroom or whatever, it's never repeated outside the room. All right, we keep it very confidential, don't we?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm here to break that confidentiality, and I mean, mainly because it's about me. But we get back, and we get to the room, we check in. Blickman's going to check his email. Palmer's going to check his email. I'm going to take a nap. I'm worn out. Didn't get much sleep, so lay down on the bed. I know I'm kind of gassy from lunch, and fall asleep.
Kinda.
I wake up like an hour later. All the windows are open. Like breeze going through. He's standing there waving like a comforter, trying to he's got a clothespin on his nose. I think I was a tad gassy. I woke up. Nothing needed to be said.
No.
See the look on his face, kind of green.
I didn't have to go to management about it at all.
I knew exactly what had happened. All the windows opened. I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I must have been farting my guts out while I was asleep.
That explains his headache later in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Right. Or his version that matches. Yeah.
One day I wish
Open flame.
you would tell a story that
didn't involve gas.
That we wanted to hear.
Hey,
that's my wish. That's my wish.
You have a whole different wish than some of our listeners. They
that is true.
They enjoy this insight into our intestinal workings. Yeah.
And the one regrettable incident was that
the one.
Yeah, during that long afternoon, I guess of an hour, I forgot to take a picture and post it to Facebook.
Yeah, what happens in the room stays in the room. Don't betray the trust.
Well, I guess
we worked this out at GABF a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Well, I guess you can chalk it up to telling everyone about your enzymatic activity.
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Something tells me.
But I'll tell you, I wasn't the only one that was gassy.
That's right.
Every one of us contributed to global warming mightily.
I have to admit, I had
curry soup,
the reign of the power.
Yeah,
the curry soup.
Small but deadly. Yes.
Yep.
Well, it reminds me what you don't know. I got a what you don't know about my friend John Blickman.
Oh, good Lord!
He's willing to take one for the team. Yeah,
that's right.
That's what you don't know about my friend John Blickman. Yeah. We got some what you don't know about my friend John Palmer coming up that you don't want to miss. I'm telling you, it's quality stuff coming up. I wrote it down on my phone while I was drunk, so it's going to be good.
Great.
But we had a great time, and I was very impressed with Kevin and your knowledge and the way that you really take your hobby seriously. And we had a good time. Icky came out. Jeff came out, and we had a good time. He's always a crack up. We had a lot of fun.
Went skateboarding.
Yeah, drunken skateboarding.
So they drink heavily and they get on skateboards and they get run over by a fire truck. Yeah,
sounds like my late teen years.
Yeah, that's what they're experiencing now.
Or in the winter, you would have been on skis. It could have been uglier.
Yeah, that could have been fun. We had a good time. Did you enjoy winning your prize here?
Oh,
Kevin?
man, did I?
All worth it?
Would you
have paid twice as much for the top tier system?
I would have paid $10,000 for one of those top tiers. That was amazing.
I need to raise my price.
These guys came out. They cleaned the whole brewery. They cleaned cleaned carboys.
Fixed
Jamil was
problems.
rewiring rewiring a plug. It was a 3-man effort drilling the pilot hole for the electrode and the burner.
We got pictures,
Jamil took a nap on some Northern Brewer supplied bubble wrap.
I tell you, Northern Brewer has the finest bubble wrap you're ever going to come across. That stuff, it's strong, it's very comfortable. And they ship enough of it that you can make a bed out of it. It's really, really wonderful. Really wonderful. We urinated on your hops.
Yeah.
Side of your house.
The special beer water.
Like my wet hop beer is going to have special meaning this year.
Yes. Yeah. It definitely will.
I've had that taste in my mouth before. I just can't place it.
In your mouth.
Yeah. A little too far there. I don't know. All right, so let's get to...
He can say whatever he wants.
That's right. He's a sponsor here.
He signs the check.
Well, let's get down to the get down to the show here. Why? Because that's what the show is paid for, and we get a lot of emails. People with show ideas, just say show idea, and then whatever your subject is, or Q&A if you want us to tackle it on a Q&A show. If you don't think it's enough for a show, we may swap those around at our discretion, but we do look at them all. Can't respond to them personally. You get a factorized response, but we do check them all out. And Tom, two skis brewskis in the forum. Tom says, "Gentlemen and Jamil, bastard. I'm an avid listener and have learned so much from all your shows. Although you have covered many a great topic, one that I always have questions about is tannins. I understand that tannins come from several ingredients used throughout the brewing process: grain husks, hops, wood. But what are they? How are they different? Why are some good, like oak, some bad, like husks, and some depend, like hops? What can we do to make sure we have the right ones and not the bad ones? I'm sure whatever you can teach us about this will be very useful." Well, yeah, that's what he says. Best to you, Tom. All right, Tom.
It's a pretty good topic.
I think that's worthy of a show. That's why I read the whole email.
I wondered, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and actually, we're going to talk about something completely different. So, John, why don't we start off? Define for me tannins. What are tannins?
Okay. Well, tannins are they're the astringent character that you get in beer. They cause that astringency. And
chemically, what's
chemically a tannin is a polyphenol.
Okay.
And
are all polyphenols tannins?
Not necessarily. There's polyphenols range in size, kind of like polymers and
poly meaning many phenols.
Right. So it's
many phenols, and some of them are tannins.
Right. It's a chain molecule, and as these chain molecules grow and polymerize, they gain in size. And what as brewers, you're familiar with polyphenols and aromas and flavors in Belgian beers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as these polyphenols get large, they turn into astringent tannins, and what we commonly refer to as tannins are coming from grain husks, from hop cones, from wood, and these are all sources of astringency in the beer.
Okay. All right. So why do we care about tannins?
Well,
so it's astringent in beer, but there's all these sources of them. They must be okay in beer, right?
Because you're dealing with a wide range of molecules that fall under this tannin polyphenol category. It's kind of like talking about radiation. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've got different wavelengths or different frequencies of radiation. You've got visible light, ultraviolet light, etc., and then the stuff that
fries your innards.
Right. Well put. Same way with tannins. You've got the polyphenols in beer serve multiple purposes, and tannins are actually very important for clarification of the beer.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have enough tannin in the beer, then that beer will be hazy. There's just not enough polyphenol tannin protein complexing during fermentation and after fermentation to settle out all the haze. So
the proteins and the tannins clump together, they bind together.
Right, they chemically bind together.
Particle and drop out.
Right. So there's
help clearing the beer.
Yeah. Okay. So a little tannin is good, a lot of tannin can be bad. Well, but no tannin can be bad as well.
Right, and maybe even flavor-wise, tannins, like in wine, tannin is an important
that's
part
right.
of wine structure, and also must have something to do in beer,
Hop tannins, such as xanthohumol, are known to have a bittering component, so they form part of the spectrum of hop bitterness.
Okay, so are tannins bitter?
Well, they can be perceived as bitter, or in different sizes and different amounts. That bitterness translates to astringency. And boy, I really slurred that, didn't I?
You've been drinking?
Not enough.
Had a couple
apparently.
of beers. I don't know.
I'm usually much clearer than this. But yeah, astringency.
You're having a stroke. Palmer's having a stroke. Somebody call 611. Tell his cell phone carrier not to continue his contract.
Yeah. Bitterness, astringency.
All right. Obviously, he needs a moment to get some oxygen.
You'd think he'd wrote a book on this or something.
Right. Go figure. All right. So a little time for Palmer to get another drink. And let's do this. Let's take a short break. And when we come back, more about tannins after this.
Tea bags, that's what it was.
When you hear Blickman Engineering, think innovation, passion, quality, and customer service. Blickman gear is designed by brewers to give you a sense of pride in your equipment. At Blickman, they know what makes brewing a pain and build gear that makes it fun. Like the intuitive beer gun, a completely different approach to filling bottles. The Therminator Wort Chiller, a new take on a plate chiller that's sized for flow, performance, and the high groundwater temps homebrewers face every day. The Brewmometer, a brilliant weldless thermometer design with brewing parameters right on the dial. The Autosparge, ultimate simplicity for preventing an overflow or running your mash tun dry. And much more, like the modular top-tier brewing stand, conical fermenters, and their Boilermaker brew pots. With more cutting-edge equipment coming soon, keep up with the latest from Blickman at blickmanengineering.com and stay on the cutting edge.
Hi, this is Push from the Brewing Network, and I want to tell you about the Brewmaster's Warehouse and how you can get 10% off your next order. I'm a pretty techie guy, but I've never seen an online store like this. It's awesome. Go to brewmasterswarehouse.com and click on Brew Builder. You can whip up a custom recipe so easily even Sven could do it. Seriously, it's slick. You can share your recipe with your own logo and notes to the Brewmaster's database if you want. And the best part, it keeps a running tally of the beer you're building while you're doing it. Then, bam, click Buy Recipe, and your cart is filled and ready to go with helpful suggestions in case you forgot something. This thing is amazing. Brewmaster's Warehouse is run the way a home brewer would do it, with great service, fast turnaround, and $6.99 flat rate shipping. Brewmaster's Warehouse and the Brew Builder blew me away. Check it out today at brewmasterswarehouse.com. I'm serious. And don't forget to put BNARMY in the discount code box for 10% off your order. Check out brewmasterswarehouse.com. Cheers.
Downtown Joe's, located in the historic Oberon building in beautiful downtown Napa, California, offers an award-winning brew pub experience from 8:30 a.m. to 1 a.m. every day. For 15 years at the corner of 2nd and Main, Downtown Joe's has been voted Best Night Spot 7 times and Best Brew Pub for the last 4 years in a row. Brewmaster Colin Kaminsky's handcrafted ales, like his Tail Wagon Amber Ale and Double Secret Probation IPA, are the perfect accent to riverside dining, live music, and a relaxing outdoor patio. Don't miss the Beer of the Month, special rotating taps, and the BN Army Member Special. Wear your BN gear, get 10% off your beer. Visit downtownjoes.com to make reservations, peruse their extensive calendar of events, or just read more about their fantastic beers. Come enjoy the fine beer, food, and music. Downtown Joe's, the award-winning brew pub where you'll feel at home.
In a world where everything has been lost.
What happened to the city? It's in ruins.
Only one man has the ancient knowledge to restore civilization.
I need a drink. Oh no, the liquor store's been ransacked.
You looking for beer, stranger? Boy, all the liquor got drunk up in the first 25 minutes of the apocalypse.
Wait, there's still some bottles over... Oh, no. Those are non-alcoholic beer.
I reckon you better stick to arrowroot tea and a desperate nomadic existence like the rest of us.
People, I'm a home brewer. I know how to make alcohol.
It can't be done.
Come with me if you want the beer. Okay, I'm gonna need some big plastic buckets.
He is the chosen one. The prophecies say that he's gonna get us wasted.
Someone start heating water. And
From the creators of Northern Brewer, the people who brought you $7.99 Brew Saver shipping, massive selection, and superior customer service comes the Homebrewer.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're talking tannins. And,
we are. Palmer's not.
No,
Palmer's slurring his speech, and we were worried about his...
I'm all about tannins.
Stroking out here. Not the kind of stroking out you're thinking about. Well, and that's the thing. So tannins are a big part of, not only beer but foods and
Yes.
Like we said, wine and just about anything. And tannin kind of lends to itself a drying. It can lend to foods
it's
and
a drying, coating,
astringent, biting. It can be. It's very similar to, like you said before the break, tea bags. So if you're tea bagging, the juice that comes from the tea bag.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you oversteep your tea. The tea can get...
Well, in tea, and just even when you just initially steep it, there's a lot of tannins to tea.
Right.
Very
it's part of the...
rich.
And if you didn't have tannins in black tea, then you'd have green tea. Mm-hmm. The tannins and the melanoids that form also are they're part of that flavor that you're expecting. So,
but
the same way...
tannins aren't necessarily a melanoid-derived compound.
No. But all I'm saying is that as in wine, tannins can form part of the complexity of the flavor of the beer that we're shooting for. So,
if you were to completely eliminate tannins, you'd end up with something that somehow your beer's missing something.
Right. And a good way to experience the astringent character of tannins is to oversteep your black tea. Mm-hmm. Or actually do like I did in college when I was trying to stay awake, studying, pulling all-nighter, is just stick a whole tea bag in your mouth, and
I thought you'd stick it somewhere else, but
it was extremely astringent. Didn't have the same character at all. Did you not know that about me, Jamil?
And we're looking for video. If you want to send in videos where you might stick a tea bag, let's send those in to BrewStrong@BrewNetwork.com.
Any brief
and
animation.
the winning video we'll post online where you might stick a tea bag. Yes.
Well, and a lot like grains and mashing, if you use too hot of water.
Yes.
In tea. So, you do your green teas about like 150, 160. But if you go like 180, 190, 195, like for black teas, it's just going to be an astringent mess.
So it tends to be...
So they're very similar.
Temperature and pH related. So the kind of water and the pH always makes a difference. So, all right, let's talk about the sources of tannins in beer. Now you have, hops? You've got grain husks.
Yeah.
What else might you have?
Well, those are the two ingredients in beer. I mean, you got your hops and your malt. The conditions under which those tannins will be extracted depend on your water chemistry, depend on temperature, depend on time. Mm-hmm. Basically, as the temperature rises, the tannins become more soluble. As the pH rises, the tannins become more soluble. Mm-hmm. And this covers both hop tannins and grain tannins.
And what about things like oak? There's tannins from oak, wood aging. There's tannins from things like coffee. Mm-hmm. There's tannins from things like spice additions or fruits.
Anything that the the major source of tannins in brewing are celluloses. Mm-hmm. So anything that you put into the beer that has cellulose, there's a risk of tannin extraction as you go up in temperature and pH. The oak, as you mentioned, coffee, spices, all these things can contribute more tannin to the batch than you may have planned on. And high tannin beers will require more time to mature to reach peak flavor, because what you're hoping is that these tannins will form more insoluble compounds and drop out, and which can definitely smooth the taste of the beer.
Well, and that's one of the things when you are brewing. From your mash, you might get some tannins, or depending, you tend to get a lot more protein than you do tannins from the mash.
Right.
The tannins and the proteins tend to bind and form flocks, things like that. That's where you get a lot of your break material, your hot break. When you add hops, there's quite a bit more tannins that come from the hops, and if you don't add hops, you probably get a little more protein haze in your finished beer. You add hops, you add too much hops. You're adding more tannins. You get a tannin haze, you get a protein haze. It's really that the two kind of balance out and cancel each other out, that you get the brilliantly clear beer.
That's exactly right, yeah. I've been nodding a lot, but you can't see that out there in
You
radio.
can see that on Justin.tv /
Palmer nodding, I think is what it is.
Palmer nodding. Justin.tv / Brewing Network. Yes, there you go. You can see us live. You can see
the
Palmer slumping over his microphone. You can see me looking beautiful. You see Kevin Bacon dancing in the corner.
In the dark, I think. Is what
you see Blickman over here, fascinated that he's paying money for this.
Fascinated or regretful?
He's the one with
the
green T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah,
it's an impressive value.
Impressive value for the money. Yes.
Only because there's a beer in front of me.
Right. Give him more beer. Give him more beer. Quick.
John, what effect on tannins has more impact, the pH or the temperature?
Well, I would say pH, from the standpoint that temperature control during brewing is pretty well regulated. In that, home brewers, professional brewers, they know that they're going to be mashing in around 150.
It's easy to measure temperature.
Right.
People are afraid of measuring pH or lazy to measure pH, and that's why that tends to be more of an issue. And controlling pH is a little funky for people. They tend to be a little more.
It can be
scared.
Yeah. The thing is, if you look at Malting and Brewing Science, there's a classic graph in that book where they show the increase in soluble silicates, tannins, and other non-desirables as pH rises, and that point is between 5.8 and 6.0 in terms of the pH scale, and depending on your mash conditions. If you sparge with alkaline water versus soft water, and you start getting down below, 4 Plato in that example, you could see a dramatic increase in the tannin and silicate extraction from the mash. So, that's why we in a lot of the homebrewing books we recommend that you don't oversparge. And by oversparge, we don't try to go much below 10, 15, but then that number gets adjusted down depending on the beer style and lots of other factors.
Yeah, a lot of people 2 Plato, 2.5 Plato.
So
it's really kind of considered
what you're trying to do, you're trying to establish guidelines for how much, where do you draw the line in an extraction, because you're trying to correlate that to a rise in pH of the mash of the grain bed. And it's that rise at up to around 6 and above that those tannins really start coming out.
Right. So instead of measuring your specific gravity of your runnings, you should be measuring the pH of your runnings. That's really what is the critical part, because your pH of the runnings you could be at 10 Plato and you could have a high pH.
That's right.
That's a bad thing because then you're going to get a much more tannic beer. If you control your pH, you can get down quite low and not extract really a whole lot of tannins. You're still getting tannins regardless. I mean, just the whole brewing process generates tannins. You get them from the husks. You get them from the hops. You get it from any fruit additions, coffee additions, wood additions, things like that. And then the overall character of the beer has a big impact on the perception of tannins. So when you have a beer that has a lot of sweetness, residual sweetness, things like that, simple sugars, the tannins, and like in wine, some of the alcohols, things like that, the tannins add balance and structure to the wine. The same thing happens in beer. But you have a sweeter beer, the tannins tend to be a little more welcome, tend to give you a little more drying in the finish of a beer, so you're not getting more of a sweet, cloying finish. If you end up with a really dry beer and a substantial exposed kind of tannin nature to the beer, it becomes dry, harsh, puckering. And, so your residual, this is one of the interesting things, when you make a really hoppy beer with a massive amount of hops and a really low finishing gravity, the question is, you can end up with a really kind of tannic kind of character to the beer. You need to be careful about adding too many hops in the boil where I think the tannins get extracted. I'm sure you extract some tannins in dry hopping and things like that, but not nearly as much as when you boil them.
That's correct. Yeah.
And also when you dry hop and the pH of the beer has already dropped substantially.
Right.
And then you dry hop, I think you don't extract as much tannins.
Right. And that's the whole reason when we talk about steeping specialty grains, we say, don't boil them, don't put them in the pot and raise it up to boiling before you pull them out. I mean, you steep them at a temperature below boiling, and even as you did yesterday, Kevin, you cold steeped your carafa, and when you're making your black IPA, just to reduce the amount of tannin going into the beer, because as you approach boiling, those tannins become more soluble.
John, back to the sparging question. Would you expect there to be a correlation between gravity as you're continuing to run your sparge and pH?
There is, but it's a matter of understanding how the chemistry of the sparge is changing the chemistry of the grain bed. It's you're sparging with less than boiling water. And generally, that sparge liquor is at a constant temperature or near constant. Say 170 to 180 degrees, whatever. The thing you have to watch out for is that if you are sparging with alkaline brewing water, such as John Blickman has in Indiana, where the surface water or the groundwater goes through a lot of limestone, picks up a lot of alkalinity. That water has a very high alkaline buffering capability, which, as you sparge the grain bed, is going to wash out the more acidic buffering capability of the mash of the malts, and you end up driving the pH up towards 6 and above. So that's why it's important to understand what the pH and the chemistry of your grain bed and your mash is with your water, and know that where that transition is occurring. If you're brewing a very dark beer with a high alkalinity water, then that grain bed will have more buffering capability and more staying power to hold off the alkalinity of the water.
He said staying power. Well, and that's
staying, not stain.
I said staying. Staying power is just as bad as stain power.
My bad.
Well, and that's one of the reasons that I will adjust my sparge water as well. Yeah. I actually, I'll heat and acid adjust my sparge water before sparging, because I know that with that water adjusted, I can go ahead and sparge as long as I want, and I'm not going to really have a problem with tannin.
That is true. Yes. Yeah. And that's one reason we've talked about in our water shows understand what your brewing water is, chemistry wise. Is it alkaline? Is it balanced? Is it slightly acidic? Most surface waters in the United States are relatively low alkalinity if you're pulling from a river or from a lake. But if you're pulling from groundwater, from wells and underground aquifers, that water tends to be highly alkaline. If you live up where Kevin does near Lake Tahoe, all the water is from snowmelt, and that's very low alkalinity. It's very low mineral. So he can sparge all day long with that water and not really change the pH of his grain of his mash.
Yeah, it's about 8.5 pH.
Yeah, but it's an 8.5 pH of very low mineral concentration. So
it tends to shift very quickly.
Very easily buffered.
Yes, there's not a whole lot of resistance to it. Whereas John Blickman's water at 8.5 pH. Same pH.
You can add acid to that all day long.
Yeah, it's like liquid drywall.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
that's the
buffering
big difference.
Capability plays a big role. It's like if you try and take the pH of distilled water, it's all over the place.
Right.
And depending on how you wiggle your probe.
He said probe.
And wiggle.
Depending on how you wiggle your probe, you get just wildly different readings because of there's like zero buffering in there, and it's really not the acidity changes easily in something like distilled water.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Let's take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get into a little more of this. And if you're listening live and you have questions for Mr. John Blickman, I think the next show we're going to go do Q&A, and we'll just jump in with all Q&A for John Blickman until we run out of Q&A.
But they can still call in for 10 questions.
And they can, you can call in for 10 questions now, but
or do them in the chat room.
Like 20 minutes, we're going to go ahead and we'll do an all Q&A for Blickman, and you can call in or you can email in. So
you mean we're on time?
Yeah, get all your.
Holy
of course,
shit. We're
on time, or we'll just cut the show short, and we'll be done. I mean, he's Blickman. He's not checking the length of these shows. He's just writing the check, right?
That's what it's all about.
He's sitting here in the studio.
Actually, I've seen the check, and they have little inch marks on them. So
right, so he's measuring.
Length isn't important.
It's if it cashes.
Let's go with girth.
It's feet per minute.
So let's take a short break. We'll be back after this.
BN Army, HopTech has a great discount waiting for you. Do you often find it difficult to find specific specialty ingredients for your homebrew recipes? Well, listen to this. HopTech stocks 59 different grains to choose from, 39 varieties of pellet hops, and 8 kinds of whole leaf hops. And HopTech not only carries Y yeast and White Labs yeast for you, but also Fermentus, 04, 5, 6, 23, 33, and T58 Belgian yeast, plus Cooper's, Nottingham, and Windsor yeasts. Got your recipe ready to go? Pick up some great brew gear like new long and short sleeved shirts, games, and more. HopTech's new website is being updated every day with new items. If you don't see it, call the shop. They're open 6 days a week. BN Army and AHA members get a 10% discount, and active military personnel get 15% off. Visit HopTech.com today for great selection, great service, and a great discount. HopTech.com.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids, come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 9 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer and Brew Free or Die IPA throughout California and Alaska.
And now it's also available on draft at select accounts in the Bay Area.
So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in the can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack can.
Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients, and the best customer service in the business. Cut hours off your brewing sessions by using one of their 11 varieties of famous Williams malt extract. Their new Snap-Lock stainless steel cam-lock fittings will make connecting your pump or heat exchanger quick and easy. Or check out their exclusive paintball tank-based draft beer equipment. They even have their own line of precision hydrometers. Go to williamsbrewing.com to browse their vast selection. That's williamsbrewing.com. Orders placed by 4 p.m. Pacific Time weekdays ship the same day. Brewing is easy. The Williams way.
Back to your hosts, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. Putting the testicles in technical. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back.
But without that nut thing.
Without that nut thing. I always get that nut thing going on. I don't know.
So, during the break there, John asked me a good question. He goes, well, what is buffering?
Mm-hmm.
And, it is not a brand of aspirin. It is
a vampire slayer.
But buffering is buffered.
That's true. That's very true.
Buffer that bleeding acid in your stomach, yes.
That's right.
But, just to define it a little bit, the buffering is the ability of a substance to resist a change in pH. And in the malts, in any buffering substance, what it is, it's the way a salt or a weak acid dissociates, and so it has an equilibrium, and the more the pH of the system tries to change, the more that this salt will dissociate and resist that change. Maintains that equilibrium. So. It's kind of a circular answer, but a buffering compound is a weak acid or a weak base, a salt, typically a ionic compound that dissociates to resist a change in pH, and that's you have these substances in the malts in the grain bed. You have it in your calcium carbonate, dissolved calcium carbonate system in water. So that's when we talk about alkalinity and the buffering power of water. That's the calcium carbonate in the water.
And that's also how the 5-star pH 5.6 performs its... Or 5.2, sorry.
Buffers, yeah.
Yeah.
How it performs its function.
Yep, it's a buffering system. And it helps prevent changes in pH of the mash, yeah. So, next one, yeah.
So, have we kind of captured the whole story of tannins? Yeah. So, all right. So you have all these tannins that come in.
Mm-hmm.
They bind with proteins to form break material and drop out of solution. And so, kind of having some hops in at the beginning of a boil helps precipitate the break material. Your tannins are extracted more so at higher temperatures and higher pHs.
Right.
They affect the flavor. They're important to the flavor of beer, but what is controlling them? You don't want them absent. You want
you need some tannin. Mm-hmm. You need a certain minimum tannin. I don't have a number, but it like as in all things, it's a bell curve. You need a good amount. If you have too less, then you tend to have a high protein haze that doesn't settle out. If you have too much, then you tend to have a tannic haze or an astringent flavor.
Now, the type of findings that you would use to remove those hazes depends on whether your haze is a protein haze or a tannin haze.
Right.
And that's one of the things that people don't realize. It's like, well, I'm using a finding, and it's not really working. It's like, well, because that finding is designed to take out yeast or to take out proteins or to take out tannins.
Mm-hmm.
Some work on multiples, things like that. and you can have a tannin haze, a protein haze, a yeast haze. All those things, they respond differently depending on the charge, the electrical charge that's on the particle.
Right. Yeah. Your protein hazes. I can't remember which ones are positive and negative, but your protein hazes, you tend to look at, say, Irish moss to help take those out of solution. Your tannin hazes, you're looking to stuff like polyclar. That are very good at binding to the tannins, to the polyphenols, and helping pull those out of solution. Your yeast hazes, then you're looking to more like isinglass or and polycar.
There's gelatins,
gelatins,
all sorts of other things.
Yeah. So each of these species has a different charge and different arrangement of charge, so it helps them bind to these different materials.
Now, what about when you want to add tannins? Because I think, and JP, you're a big proponent of wood aging and adding oak and things like that.
I love it.
That's one of the big things about adding wood to your beer is you're adding tannins.
Yeah.
And tannin is a big part of the structure of what you're adding in beer. So, JP, when you're doing a beer that you want to oak age, do you tend to want that beer base to be slightly sweeter so that the tannins have something to work against, or drier so the tannins stick out? Or how do you think that through?
I don't really. I don't worry about it.
Don't think things through.
No, not. That's why I'm here on a Saturday. Yeah,
right. That's why your life is degenerated.
It's where it is now.
Network. Yeah.
Oddly, I'm happy, which is weird. I just need to get paid for. Anyway, tannins from oak and stuff, they're more like mouthfeel structure tannins. They're not really the drying tannins you can get from over sparging or even roasted malts or whatever you guys have been talking about. I don't know. I'm playing Angry Birds. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. I assume it's tannins. So with oak and wood and such, I don't really worry about it because it's a different tannin for me. And the goal is to pull it off of the oak, pull it off of the wood before you get the harsh tannin instead of the mouthfeel, the bodybuilding tannins. So it's more of a tasting time game.
Are you saying there's different types of tannins in the woods, or is it a different level of tannins?
I think it's a different extraction level. So you're getting some small amount of tannins, but you're getting, maybe it's more the oak and wood flavors. I don't really know. I'm just guessing. Maybe it's all that kind of stuff overpowering the tannin, the mouthfeel, whatever. But over time, as I think actually the fluid goes deeper into the wood, or it's not toasted and all that kind of stuff, maybe it's pulling out more. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But it's like over steeping a tea bag.
Yeah, right. Well, like if you've ever fermented an oak, like using oak chips, and you throw 2 ounces in a British pale ale or something, or ESB or whatever, and you drink that afterwards. You're fermenting, you're blowing off all the flavor, all the aroma compounds, and you're just leaving a lot of the structural tannins behind, and you can really taste the difference there. It's very slight, but it's very warm too. Kind of, it's not as sticky. It's not as like sharp and harsh, I think.
Okay.
So that's my take on it. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, or
no, I think you're right. I mean,
somewhere in the middle of retarded, but
yeah. Well, as we've mentioned that, the tannins bind with proteins, they settle out. So where you introduce these tannins in the process is going to affect how they manifest in the final beer. If you put them in early during primary fermentation, more of those tannins will settle out in the,
or be bound up with other proteins or
yeast and
things
proteins
like that.
and so on. They'll settle out. You get a different profile from adding them there than adding them after primary fermentation. The temperature which you introduce them at, you're going to get a different extraction, different sizes of tannins.
So if you were to boil oak cubes, you're probably getting a different kind of tannin character than if you, at fermentation temperature or at cellar temperature, introduce oak. You get a different kind of tannin, maybe. Yeah,
and your hop tannins, the same thing. Everybody knows that where you add hops during the process changes the character, whether it's they're boiled a long time, boiled a short time, dry hop. That's they're changing your hop flavors, and that's all different things. But again, you still are extracting tannins from those hop cones from that cellulose in the hops, and depending on the volume of hops used and the pH, you'll get a certain profile, which will influence the flavor of the beer.
Okay. Well, and I'll have you know that during that whole segment there, they use words like blow and sticky and warm and teabag and pulling and wood, and I didn't say a thing. So there.
Oh. But you pulled it all together in one sorted kind of summary.
All right, let's take a short break. And when we come back, we'll get to your questions. And if you want to call in and ask about tannins, we will entertain those calls as well. Back after this.
When you hear Blickman Engineering, think innovation, passion, quality, and customer service. Blickman gear is designed by brewers to give you a sense of pride in your equipment. At Blickman, they know what makes brewing a pain and build gear that makes it fun. Like the intuitive beer gun, a completely different approach to filling bottles. The Therminator Wort Chiller, a new take on a plate chiller that's sized for flow, performance, and the high groundwater temps homebrewers face every day. The Brewmometer, a brilliant weldless thermometer design with brewing parameters right on the dial. The Autosparge, ultimate simplicity for preventing an overflow or running your mash tun dry. And much more, like the modular top-tier brewing stand, conical fermenters, and their Boilermaker brew pots. With more cutting-edge equipment coming soon, keep up with the latest from Blickman at blickmanengineering.com and stay on the cutting edge.
Hey guys, Justin here from The Session, and I got a little message for you about the Great American Beer Festival happening this week. You know, while most breweries come to the Great American Beer Festival to win an award, Black Star and the Great Northern Brewery are also coming to give an award. Black Star is awarding the biggest beer fan with the Ultimate Beer Trophy. As tall as a full-grown beer fan, Black Star's Ultimate Beer Trophy is outfitted with a working Bronco tap handle, Black Star beer cans, branded steins, and a fully functioning iPod dock with speakers. To enter, festival goers just have to go visit the Black Star and the Great Northern Brewery's booth at section E 18 through 20, or check in on Facebook. Parked at their display, you'll find Black Star's vintage Airstream equipped with a digital photo booth for beer fans to take free pictures in, automatically emailed to them via Wi-Fi for easy sharing and posting. So come say hello to the great folks at the Great Northern Breweries and Black Star Brewery. They'll be serving double-hopped golden lager, and Great Northern Brewery will be pouring wild huckleberry wheat lager and wheat fish. So check them out on Facebook to register to win the biggest beer fan, or go to the booth, section E18 through 20. See you there.
Honey, what's wrong? Was the Saison oxidized?
Worse. Beer festival season is coming to an end. That's it for craft beer fun for the year.
My God, you're right.
What are we going to do?
Wait, it's a long shot, but yes!
What?
The new Bay Area Craft Beer Festival is coming up October 22nd.
The one at Martinez Waterfront Park?
Yeah, with all that great food,
live music,
and craft beer. More than 30 of the best breweries west of the Mississippi will be there.
I knew you loved me.
I do, but I may love the Bay Area Craft Beer Festival more.
Hey.
Kidding.
And I was just about to tell you your Saison is oxidized.
What?
Tickets for the Bay Area Craft Beer Festival are available online until October 19th at bayareacraftbeerfestival.com. All tickets are pre-sale only. None will be sold at the door, so get yours online right now. Great beer, fabulous food, and rockin' live music. Round out your beer fest season right this year at the Bay Area Craft Beer Festival. What does craft beer mean to you? Is it a delicious way to support your town's local brewer? Or perhaps it's the perfect beverage to pair with those delicious meals at your favorite restaurant and at home. Regardless of whether you're thinking of pints or pairings, pilsners or porters, craftbeer.com is the site where craft beer lovers come together to learn and share. Craftbeer.com is brought to you by the Brewers Association and celebrates the best of American craft beer and its brewers. Craftbeer.com is the best place to find craft beer events, recipes, great feature stories, the most up-to-date brewery listings, and resources for your next beer tasting or dinner, like style guidelines, pairing mats, and charts. Get the inside scoop on new beer releases and special events from today's craft beer insiders, and chime in to share your own knowledge, perfect pairings, road trips, recipes, and more. Craftbeer.com, celebrating the best of American beer.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
Fellas, gals, are you looking to spice things up in the garage? Been fantasizing about surprising your brew buddy with an adventurous new toy or adult beverage? Well, here's an offer you won't be able to resist.
What's a brew buddy?
Go to BlickmanEngineering.com. No. Wrong ad copy.
Rewind.
Back up. Fellas and gals, you looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Been fantasizing about surprising your lover with an adventurous new toy or adult movie? Here's an offer you won't be able to resist. Go to AdamandEve.com. For a limited time only, you get 50% off just about any item. When you select your one item at 50% off, you also receive 3 free adult DVDs for a little inspiration, plus free extra gifts so essential we can't mention on the radio. And to top it all off, we'll throw in free shipping on your entire order. So check out AdamandEve.com today for this special offer. Get 50% off one item when you type JAMIL for the offer code upon checkout. When you do, 3 free DVDs, a free extra gift, and free shipping. Just use the offer code JAMIL at AdamandEve.com today. All right, so we're talking about tannins and how they could be a negative in beer, they can be positive in beer. I guess overall they're just a positive. It's just the only time it could become a negative is if it's just excessive in one way or another.
Right.
You might have a haze, or you might have an astringent kind of character to the beer.
Right. It's and that's why we encourage don't oversparge, and don't put in 5 pounds of roast malt in your beers, that can be too much tannin in the beer and very harsh tasting.
Okay. Well, and I just need to point out we're drinking the Firestone 11 that the wonderful listener brought to me at NHC. He just walked up, handed me the bottle in the box. He's like, "Here." I didn't think he said here. He just set it down in front of me, walked away. Maybe it was meant for somebody else. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he was hoping you would actually watch it for him when I went to the bathroom.
Right. It's like I gotta go pee, and then I was like gone. The show was over. I'm like, that must have been a gift. So I don't know the gentleman's name, but very kind of him to.
That's a beautiful beer.
Provide us, and I was like right around my birthday, so I was expecting a couple of gifts, and that was like the only kind to come through. So I know at least one person listens to the show. And,
you egomaniac.
That's right. I was expecting like my friends to say happy birthday. Maybe
I thought you said never to mention your age on the air.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
I really don't give a crap about that. I want the gifts. So very, 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 very nice of the guy to provide this. It's a special beer.
Happy birthday, Jamil.
And one that
thanks for coming for the rest of us.
It means shit to me now, you guys.
Hey, don't look a gift horse.
That guy thought of me then. Very nice.
Well,
I didn't have to ask for it. He just came up and
he was also drunk.
Offered.
As fuck.
I don't think he was.
There's a lot of honey in this. All right, I get like a lot of honey notes.
A lot of bourbon, and no, it's delicious though.
I'm not saying it's not a bad. I'm not saying it's not good. It's like a lot of.
It's a lot of those things that you don't think could coexist together or would be overwhelming, and it's delicious. So I thought I would share it with my friends in the studio.
But they're not here, so...
They're not here, so the rest of you people are drinking it.
Thank you. I appreciate you doing it.
I was going to drink it with Staley, but then his wife didn't come in.
Yeah.
Would have been just me and Staley. We were already and that's 5 times over drunk. And
that's boring.
Yeah. The Staley won't put out,
He will. I'll tell you the secret later. I'll tell you the secret.
So it's very nice, and whoever you were, email me and let me know who the heck you were. I really appreciate it. The guy didn't want any credit. I think he just was being nice. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, that's an awesome beer.
Really wonderful.
As do the rest of us.
Yeah, and I'm sure it cost him some bucks, or from his private stash or whatever. And very nice, very, 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 very nice. All right, so we got a couple of questions from the chat before we wrap this bad boy up.
Yes, sir. Our good friend Sex Panther in the chat. Mm-hmm. He asks, are there any particular styles in which tannins add another level of complexity to?
Oh, well, pretty much any style, I think, but mostly those styles that are looking at wood aging or aging in general, or because they tend to be sweeter beers. A lot of times, the tannins can act as kind of a firm underpinning, a wooden shaft of support throughout the middle of the beer. So, old ale, Russian Imperial Stout. You're fond of oak aging a lot of stouts.
Yeah. That's really all I brew. I don't really make a lot of light beers.
Right.
He likes a lot of stout wood.
I do.
Do you, Jamil, would you consider tannin be a character in, say, Munich Dunkel? Or
what about
Oktoberfest?
No.
And if so, why not?
No.
It's right in the guidelines, John. Why don't you read them?
I'm trying to
milk
the topic.
Especially something like Dunkel, which is about smooth, rich, bready malt character.
Right.
And if you had any tannins, I think I would think that's one with minimal tannins. Another minimal tannin one I would think is like American Light Lager.
So on the night of January 12th, 1970 something,
something's happened to Palmer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
Yeah. So in other words, what I was leading up to is
teabagging.
No, what is this? Party Guile? Not
What
Party
you
Guile.
don't know about my friend John Blickman?
Trent.
I
Lost the
forgot.
train of thought. No, but I mean when you brew a big beer and then you do second runnings to make a small beer, you don't
you're talking Party Guile and right.
Yeah.
So a lot of the smaller British beers that would be a Party Guile beer, like you're talking London Pride. Interesting, they're all made from the same mash.
Yeah,
and they run off like 3 kettles of wort for Fuller's ESB, London Pride, and Chiswick Bitter. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And the bitter is, fairly tannic. London Pride less so, and the ESB very little.
Right.
They use a blend of the different runnings to give it that kind of character, and it makes for a totally different beer. Those lighter bitters, I think some grain astringency, some grain tannins. And here's the problem with the BJCP style guides is. It'll talk about, maybe something about tannins or the grain astringency. And they're talking about subtle notes. And, people will take a mention of the word and they'll go nuts with it. And it'll be like chewing on, a cedar bark for your hamster or something. It's just, over the top. And really what we're talking about is subtle background kind of, a firming up of the bittering.
Yeah. Because I remember so many, small beers made from a big beer, whether it's a Bock, double Bock, you make a small dunkel out of it or something like that, or as you say, the bitters, where that small beer is really tannic, very astringent, and a little goes a long way. You're trying to use tannins in a small beer, perhaps like that, to give it some backbone, a little bit of some body, some structure, so it doesn't taste watery. But at the same time, you don't want the oversteep teabag situation going on in your mouth.
Right. Yeah. No teabag in my mouth. All right. So let's wrap this up, and let me give you the promised what you don't know about my friend John Palmer. Theme music anytime now.
Oh God, hold on. Well, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. There were a couple more questions in the chat. Now I got to load this thing. You want? Can I?
You said load.
All right.
Do you want a question while I do your bidding?
One more question. We're out of time. So one more question, then we'll wrap it over to the next show.
All right. Hold on. I got to figure everything out. God, this is so dumb. Will adding fruit add appreciable tannins to a beer? If so, are there particular styles that would work better with particular fruits? One that can handle additional tannins without becoming over the top. Not the movie.
Well, it's like your blueberry wheat.
Well, yeah, it depends on the type of fruit. So certain fruits have more tannins, and certain fruits have less tannins.
Right.
Certain beers can withstand more tannins. I think the darker beers can handle more tannins, and the beers with more of a sweet finish to them do particularly well with tannins. So Imperial Stout, things like that tend to play well. Some barley wines, things like that. Sometimes you want something that is kind of tannic and dry, and that can be enjoyable as long as it's not excessively. And I think that's where like the blueberry wheat comes in. You get some tannins, you get a fairly dry beer, and it's just refreshing and crisp and kind of dry, and doesn't leave any sweetness behind, and that can be pleasant as well.
And wheat beers tend to be low tannin beers because there's no husk,
right?
But they get a lot of protein, so the tannins from the blueberries can help drop out some of that protein.
Point.
All right, ready?
Yeah,
yes.
Now we're ready.
Go ahead. What you don't know about my friend John Palmer? Huh? Theme music, huh? Theme music.
That's precious. Where's my fishing pole?
You just look like you sounded like the caveman that discovered fire. You go, huh? Theme music. That's what I'm calling this. Theme music.
Theme music. All right. So what you don't know about my good friend John Palmer? His motto: small but rigid. What you don't know
no
about
comment.
Small but rigid. What you don't know about my good friend John Palmer? Small but rigid.
It's supposed to be tall but rigid.
Small but rigid.
Unyielding.
Motto. Unyielding. Yeah. Hey, you say it, it goes on the air. Unless you say it within the confines of the hotel room, then that's
right.
That's the safe zone. That's home base.
Yes.
All right.
Anything happens in there is not repeated. All right. So
next time.
If you got some questions about tannins, let's just carry those over to the next show coming up. Live Q&A. We got John Blickman in the studio here, so I'd like you to get your questions together for John Blickman. Feel free to call in 1-888-401-BEER, something like that. Right?
2337.
2337, which is
that's right, Jamil.
That's right. All right, and check out our sponsors' webpage, BlickmanEngineering.com. That's Blickman with two N's. He's got all the geeky engineering stuff that you will enjoy, like Kevin Drake did, and look at what happened
to
him.
The Tower of Power.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. These three geeks will come to your place and brew with you.
Drink all your beer.
Drink all your beer and
ride on your skateboards
and pee in your hot plants. So, all right. And also check out the Brewing Network store. There's some good items in there, shirts and glasses and lots of BN branded gear that if you buy that stuff, all goes to the bottom line of the Brewing Network, and it really helps keep this programming on the air. So
we should get some new stuff in soon. We have it. We just need to put it up in the website.
So you're too lazy, and that's...
I don't know how to do it, or else it would be done by now. Trust me. Okay?
There you go.
All right. I'm not camping today. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're here working.
I'm working.
All right.
30 seconds.
Until then, brew strong.
Brew strong, everybody.